let's start at firefighting, because that's what actually takes you overseas eventually.
Yeah.
So how do you even get into that? How does one get into that?
How does one become a firefighter?
Yeah. How do you get into that? And what happens afterwards? Guide us through this story.
Yeah, I became a firefighter when I was 18, 19, I think, or somewhere in there. And I originally started as a seasonal firefighter, and then I got hired on full time. And I loved it. Like, firefighting is a great job. Every day is different. You get to work in a team. It's all about high stakes, fast paced problem solving, which I really, really love and I thrive in. And it was just a really great job. And if you asked me back then, what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, without hesitation, I would have said, I'm going to be a firefighter till the day I fucking die. This is awesome.
Wow.
And then 9/11 happened, and that was a really kind of quintessential moment for me in my life trajectory, because before 9/11, I would basically describe my firehouse as a place of like love and support and family. And after 9/11, there was a lot of like hatred, and understandably so, directed at the people and the region for what had happened in New York. And nothing I saw on mainstream media kind of answered any of the burning questions that was generated by that day. So a little bit around 6 months after 9/11, I decided to travel to Afghanistan on my own to try to find those answers for myself. And I know, like, that sounds, I was telling someone the story the other day and they're like, that sounds batshit crazy. I'm like, I know it does now, but it made perfect sense to me at the time. Yeah, I think my dad, he always said there's like only 3 types of people in the world. Like, those that when you hit them, they hit you right back. And those when you hit them, they run away. And those that when you hit them, they ask, why'd you hit me? And I've always kind of been in that third camp. And so right after 9/11, I started like watching a lot of news programs and reading a lot of books about Islam and trying to teach myself Arabic and reading about the history of the Middle East. And it was really interesting because one of the reasons I decided to go to Afghanistan, because what I was reading about Islam and about the history of the Middle East directly contradicted what I was seeing in mainstream media. And then I realized both of those sources of information were someone else's filter. And in order for me to like remove that filter, I needed to go there myself and kind of try to find those answers myself. And so that's what I did. And then after arriving in Afghanistan, I was immediately humbled by my own ignorance of the world. And what I mean by that is, I don't know if you remember what you were like when you were 20, 21, but I had a very assured view of the world.
Unfortunately, yeah, I do.
And it was really humbling because all those things that I had been kind of taught and internalized through watching the media and being exposed to certain kind of stories were completely kind of contradicted by my experience in the country. And then after that, it kind of set me on this journey to better educate myself. And I realized the best way to do that was to go to places and talk to people and try to see the world the way they did. So after that, I moved to Yemen to study Arabic and Islam. And I got a job as a firefighting instructor in Yemen, which was interesting, teaching Yemeni men how to fight fire while I studied Arabic. That's a Cliff Note version.
Yeah. Well, then where's the jump? How do you connect from that point to suddenly you're a filmmaker, firefighter to filmmaker?
Yeah, it was mostly because of my time in Yemen, living in a country and living in a community there and having people that I consider family there and to this day and friends, and having that experience and then seeing how the country was portrayed in the media and not seeing any of the stories that I was experiencing or hearing at all in the media. And so I kind of pushed me to try to fill that void and find stories that weren't being talked about, that showed things that I think would kind of challenge people's stereotypes about not only the region, but the people and try to, because I knew most people wouldn't go to Afghanistan or travel and live in Yemen. So I felt very lucky to be able to do that. And so that's kind of where I started to change and my career is like, maybe I want to be a storyteller, filmmaker, journalist. And and then I went back to the States and finished my degree and then went to Stanford and got a MFA in documentary filmmaking. And here we are with huge student loans.